everybody, this is John Cole with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, we're going to share with you guys my personal 5 uncommon juicing tips that literally can change your life. These are some tips, you may have heard me say them at different points in time, but never in one video. I'm going to give you guys a literally knowledge bomb in this episode about what I've learned over juicing since 1995 straight. I've been juicing like 26 years. Not every day, but I drink juice most days, especially these days. And I've learned a lot along my juicing career, and now I want to share those with you. Some of these things you may never have heard of before, but I want you guys to start implementing these as soon as possible so that it can make a difference in the trajectory of your health regime, your health program, or your health goals. So to give you guys a background story, as I literally got into juicing as my first step into dietary changes of eating a nutrient-dense plant-based diet, because I almost lost my life when I was younger. I was afflicted with spinal meningitis, which the doctor said was caused by complement immune deficiency, and I had to figure out how to rebuild my immune system, and juicing has been an integral part for all these years, that I still keep up with today. There's a lot of people sharing and teaching about juicing and juicers online, but I want to share with you guys my opinions and my thoughts on this topic. So in case you guys want to excel what you're doing by doing some of these tips, you guys can surely do that. I hope that through my videos you guys could not only find the right juicer or the right appliance so you could process more fruits and vegetables and get them into you, but also I want to impart the knowledge that I've learned over my literally career of juicing so that you can improve your lives. Alright, so anyways, let's get into this video. My first tip is I want you guys to juice only the best produce. And best is, in my opinion, an overused word in the English language and maybe other languages too. What does best mean? And that is up to debate, but I will define best for you. So to me, the best produce means the produce that has the most nutrients contained within it, and that's is the freshest. That's simply what it is about to me. Many people may spend lots of money on a juicer just because that juice will make higher nutrition in the juice because it oxidizes the juice less. But what people don't ever tell you is that the produce you're juicing also matters a lot, right? If you guys are juicing, conventional produce being grown with NPK fertilizers, in my personal opinion, those foods can be imbalanced. Yes, I will definitely also admit that even the produce grown conventionally is still healthier than anything else at the supermarket. But once again, I've been doing this for 26 years and I've been on my own journey of discovery and learning and constantly growing. So I'm going to share with you guys my tips on how you guys can get the most nutritious produce to juice. So how do you get the best produce with the most nutrition? There's only one way to do that in my opinion. The best is going to be grow it yourself, right? I have a full garden in my backyard. I grow my own food year round, and I always, harvest food to juice, and I'm in my garden regularly getting the sun and getting exercise, planting different crops at different times of the year, and I'm adding, more importantly, nutrients in my soil that farmers, even organic farmers, are not adding in, including compost teas, microbes, trace minerals in form of rock dust and kelp and even phytoplankton from the ocean to get some iodine into my soil, so that will be in my plants. And of course, because I add a lot of different probiotics in there, I may also be making some friendly bacteria that may come along for the ride when I juice them. And I know some of you guys may be able to have a garden. If you guys, once again, are really into this, want to do the best, I would encourage you guys to grow your own garden. And actually, I teach gardening on my other YouTube channel, Growing Your Greens, so check that out. Now, I know some of you guys are thinking, John, I can't grow a garden. I know I live in an apartment in New York City. What can I do instead of growing a garden that's going to be like second best, all right? So what I'm going to say to you guys is second best is always shop at your local farmer's market where the farmers sell the produce to you directly, and they hopefully have harvested the day before, right? Or the same day, even better, right? Some farmers markets are just basically resellers buying produce wholesale and then reselling it to you. I've been to some like in that in the South. But some farmers markets like in California are certified farmers markets where the farmer or his representative needs to sell the produce to you guys. So when you go to the farmers market, you are assured fresher quality produce. There are numerous studies showing that once the produce is harvested, packed, and hydro-cooled and shipped, nutrient levels go down. My goal is to not only use the right equipment to have the highest nutrient levels, but to juice the produce that has the highest nutrient levels in the first place, right? So the question is, what do you ask the farmers when you go to the farmers market to buy your produce to know that they're legit and they're not trying to scam you? So probably the first question is, do you live at the farm, right? Ask them if they live on the farm. If they live at the farm, then there's, it's a good chance that they actually grew the produce there and they're not just reselling it. Number two, ask them if they grew the produce. It might be kind of funny. And then another question to ask them is, when was it harvested, right? And pay attention to how they answer, if they take time to think about it or if they just spit it right out, right? And hopefully they're harvesting it that morning or the day or two before so that you have fresher produce. Once again, fresher produce has higher nutrition. Now, another very important question that you should be asking the farmers is, how are you amending the soil? How are you bringing fertility into your land? And there's lots of answers they could give. Some of the things you really want to, look for is if they're using rock dust. That's like extra credit. Most people will never say they're using rock dust. But most people should be saying at least they use compost, or maybe they're using manure, or, other kind of inputs, or maybe they're just using fertilizer out of a bag. Oh, I'm just using fertilizer out of the bag from the feed store. Well, what kind of fertilizer? Is it organic? Is it OMRI approved? OMRI approved means it is for use in organic agriculture. And, those are some things that are important to me. Another thing you might want to ask them is, do you spray your crops? And what do you spray them with, right? Let them answer and then ask them, are those OMRI approved? If they are OMRI approved, that means they are organic, so that could be maybe healthier than the chemicals that they are spraying on your food from the pesticides. So these are some guidelines that you guys could use to select the highest produce quality at the farmers market. Now, of course, if you don't have any farmers markets and you can't grow stuff, what's your next best option? Well, of course, then I would recommend just, industrial grown, organic, certified produce. In most cases, not all cases, organic produce should be generally more nutritious than conventional produce, in my opinion. This is based on the soil fertility practices. Most people that are grown organically are using compost of various sources, and that's going to have a wider diversity of inputs into the soil than an NPK fertilizer that maybe focuses on 3 main minerals. Also, in addition, in organics, the plants generally have to tend for themselves and make their own defenses so that they could be stronger and create more of these valuable phytonutrients and phytochemicals so that they could be resistant against disease. These are the very phytochemicals that potentially can help our health, but it's the same phytochemicals that protect the plant from getting attacked by bugs and other vermin in the garden. So that's why I choose organic whenever possible. Now, of course, after that, if you can't find that, then the best you could do is get conventional, industrial grown food. Juicing conventional food is still better than not juicing at all. I will definitely say that, but I always encourage you guys to do a little bit better. And if you guys do have to buy conventional, I would encourage you guys to look up the EWG.org. That's the Environmental Working Group.org. They have the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. So you want to basically kind of try to avoid the Dirty Dozen items that are highly sprayed with pesticides, especially when juicing them, and move towards the using more of the Clean 15 vegetables. Of course, I always want to encourage you guys to do the best you can. My second tip for you guys that is quite uncommon is that I want you guys to maximize the use of the produce you are juicing, and you can do this in 2 main ways. All right. So say you run your celery through the juicer, you get the pulp out, you get the juice out, right? After the pulp comes out, in most juicers, and this depends on the juicer, but in most slow juicers or even high-speed juicers, your pulp will still be wet. There will be still juice in there that you're not extracting. If you just take that pulp and throw it away or put it in your compost pile or down the garbage disposal, you're never going to realize the benefits of the nutrients in that pulp. So probably the easiest way that I've learned how to deal with that is go ahead and take the pulp and put it into a nut milk bag. There's many different brands out there This happens to be a Blend-Tech nut milk bag. I heard they discontinued these, but I will be hopefully offering these within the next 30 to 45 days under a different brand name, but the same exact bag. This is my favorite nut milk or juice bag, you know, that you can literally put your produce in and then basically wring it out. So this makes it really easy that with your power of your hands, you could wring out the produce. If that is too messy for you, you don't want to do that in some juicers, but not all of them. You could always take the pulp and put it back through the machine. That works really well in the Omega NC800, although it doesn't work so well in the VSJ843, where you may get more pulp blockages and pulp jams, or other vertical juicers. It may also work in a twin gear juicer. That being said, really the simplest way is to use a nut milk bag. And some advanced tips here that I've done in the past is I'll take the pulp and then basically I'll put it in the vacuum blender or a regular blender with some water or maybe coconut water. And then I'll blend that up. And once I blend that up, then it's a finer particulate size. And also the nutrients that are left in the pulp are now being blended up by the blender into smaller particle sizes. So you'll get more nutrients out of it, and then put it in the nut milk bag or the juice bag and squeeze it out to get more juice out. By the time you're done with that, the fiber will pretty much be useless, and it's mostly fiber. Vegetable fiber is good. You may want to bake that into different, you know, cookies, or dehydrate it, or add it to soup stocks, or cook with it, or bake with it, or whatever you want to do with it. You know, me personally, I put it in my compost pile. That being said, actually, you know, I would also recommend mixing it in with your dog food. This will offset the amount of dog food you need to feed them, and it'll be some good fiber for them. To me personally, you know, the spent juice pulp, especially after I extract it, you know, at least 2 times in one of these methods, is pretty much just a waste product. I don't need to get extra fiber in my diet. I eat plenty of fruits and vegetables and other plant foods, so I have so much fiber. And there's a study I saw actually that talked about, you know, vegetable fibers versus other kind of fibers from different plants. And, you know, while vegetable fibers are beneficial, you know, some of the other fibers from other plant foods like beans and grains, you know, can be more beneficial. Or especially, you know, for me, I would rather, instead of eating like the pulp from the vegetables, you know, to get more fiber in me, to make the 100% use of it, if I've extracted all the juice out, there's nothing but fiber left, I personally would rather grind up some virgin flax seeds in a coffee grinder or in a vacuum blender, and then take that powder for essential fiber and lignin and essential omega-3 fatty acids. And I believe that to be a lot healthier, you know, than the fiber that comes out of the juicer. I mean, another thing you might want to do is grind up some flaxseed powder and put it in your juice to get a little bit of fat with your vegetable juices, and also a little fiber with it that may increase the absorption of the fat-soluble vitamins and nutrients in your juices. Now, the other thing I'm going to tell you guys for you know, maximizing your yield, check the link down below for a video I made. You know, I think I made a video like 3 ways to increase your juice yield, where I go over some of these techniques in person. Third uncommon tip that I'm going to tell you guys is that most people that are juicing, you know, will follow a juice recipe, right? And I think recipes are great, especially they're a great starting point if you've never juiced before, you don't know how to formulate your own recipes. And that's really great. But my uncommon tip is I want you guys to veer outside of your recipe box, right? If you make the same, you know, mean green or lemon ginger blast every day, experiment a little, right? Go out on the cutting edge, and, you know, instead of, if the recipe has kale in it, substitute spinach one day, and then next day substitute bok choy, one day substitute lettuce instead of the kale. I want you guys to always rotate your ingredients, right? Every different plant food, every fruit and vegetable has different kinds of nutrients in it that, in my personal opinion, are beneficial for us. And if you drink kale juice every day, that's great because you're getting a lot of kale in you, which is an amazing food. You know, but also there are, you know, pros and cons, or nutrients and anti-nutrients with every vegetable. And that's why I like to rotate them, so I could, you know, get new nutrients and also lower my impact of some of the anti-nutrients in some of the vegetables. I think that is a prudent approach myself. The other thing I would recommend is make your own recipes. So if you guys have been juicing for a while, you guys are going to notice like every juice recipe has like a main base to it. And to me, the base is the main vegetable that's making the bulk of the juice, and then you have smaller amounts of other ingredients. So some of the ingredients that you could use to make your own recipes using the bulk of the ingredients are things like carrots, celery, and cucumbers. and apples. These work really well. Also, I've used things like jicama, also a great base for a recipe. And then add in smaller amounts of other ingredients, such as the leafy greens or such as the ginger and turmeric, right? Maybe a little bit of lemon. I mean, you could also use, I've used pineapple as the base of my juices before with a little bit of greens in there so that the greens taste good. That being said, I also encourage you guys, to focus on juicing the vegetables and not necessarily the fruits, unless you would not eat the fruits otherwise. I think fruits are best eaten or blended personally. Now, another recipe tip I want to give you guys is I want you guys to really focus on foods of color. I want you to focus on colorful foods of all different colors, especially trying to focus on the red and the purple foods and trying to source as much of the red and purple foods as you could find. Based on the studies I've seen, the red foods contain things like betalains or anthocyanins that are very powerful phytonutrients that are very uncommon in a standard American processed food diet of today. And it's these very nutrients that I believe to be very health promoting. So what foods can you get that have these purple anthocyanins or betalains in there? The beets, really rich. Purple carrots are probably my favorite. Things like the red cabbage, also very important, right? Also, when you go to buy kale, for example, choose the red kale instead of the green one. Choose the dandelion that has the red, stalk in the middle, the stem, and not just the green one. So try to go out of your way to, find some of these more colorful foods. And yeah, buy a bunch of colorful carrots because every different colored carrot has different nutrients. So, that's one tip that's been very important to me. I like to get like purple peppers, sweet peppers also for juicing, or even purple tomatoes. I want to touch on also, I really want you guys to kind of, if you're using a standard juice recipe like the mean green, add an ingredient to it or subtract an ingredient. Don't think that you have to make the same exact recipe every day. I mean, that's probably the number one tip I could give you guys. Modify it a little bit. Change, learn, and grow as you're juicing. You will learn, like I have over the years, like, if you add a little bit of this, take out a little bit of that, it tastes good, but if you add too much of this or too much of that, it's going to taste bad. And that's how you learn in life. You're going to learn by doing. You're going to juice some things that sometimes don't taste so good, and then you're going to learn, oh, that doesn't taste good, and then you're going to do a little bit different next time, and you're going to learn how to tweak your recipes, every single time, and one day, hopefully, make your own recipes that taste amazing, that are just right and agree with you. Now, my fourth tip, of course, is select the right juicer for you, right? I sell juicers here at Discount Juicers, and that's my number 4 tip, uncommon tip, because people don't understand, like, oh, just go buy a juicer and start juicing. People don't understand that every different style of juicer is better or worse at juicing certain items and will provide you certain pros and cons, right? And it depends on your specific needs. If you said, John, I want to juice nothing but apples, then I would definitely not recommend a twin gear juicer. Those are going to juice apples horribly. Actually, between these two, I would probably recommend the VSJ 843 for apples. But honestly, for apples, a vacuum blender is best. So you really need to figure out, like, what is the most important, criteria for you, to have in a juicer. And also, what are you juicing? So certain juicers like the horizontal auger style machine really work well at juicing leafy greens, especially straight leafy greens without a lot of other things. Things like celery does not clog up on celery. This machine takes me literally 90 seconds to clean. The VSJ over on this side works really well at fruits. It'll also do hard vegetables. Both these guys will do hard vegetables like carrots about equally. And then on the greens and the celery, it can juice the greens and celery without issue, but you need to pre-cut them into 1/4-inch pieces. Check the link down below for a video I made, Juice Like a Pro, in any vertical slow juicer, to learn how to do that. So of course, some juicers are easier to clean. So if, like you said, John, I just want the easiest juicer to clean, I don't care about anything else, right? Then I'd say go with the NC 800. It takes me 80 seconds. The VSJ takes me about 3 minutes. These are some of the easiest juicers to clean. As you get into other machines, they can take even longer. If you ask me, John, I want the juicer that makes the highest nutritional quality juice, then I would actually recommend not even juicer. I'd recommend vacuum blending. So I'll put a link down below to a video I made with the DynaPro vacuum blender making a green juice, antioxidant green juice, because we are removing the oxygen before grinding up all the ingredients and then hand pressing it out. Now it is a little bit of work and it's not going to work on every single recipe, but you will make a juice that tastes better. I guarantee it. And you know, from the feedback from some of my customers out there that have gotten the Dynapro setup, you know, one guy wrote me, John, I've been juicing for, I don't know, 20 years. I use the Angel, I've used this juicer, I've used that juicer, I've used every juicer. And thank you for telling me about the Dynapro. It makes by far the absolute best juice. So it really, you know, makes me happy when I see people, you know, reaffirming what I've already noticed. You know, I just try to tell it to you guys like it is so you guys can make up your own choices and choose what juicer you want to buy. I don't think I really want to get into more about what juicer is the best because I have plenty of other videos on this channel about that. That's pretty much this whole channel is about comparing and contrasting all the different major brand juicers. Of course, if you have any specific questions after watching my videos, please contact me. Link is down below in the description. You know, and I'm glad to help you personally select the right juice for you if I know your exact needs, including the different recipes you want to make, the different kind of ingredients you want to make, including proportions and or ratios and or percentages, as well as some of the top criteria that you want to have in a juicer. I can then run that through my supercomputer and then share with you guys the best juicer that'll work for you. So my fifth and final uncommon tip for you guys is, and this is a common but then it's uncommon, is I want you guys to, you know, once you're done juicing, I want you guys to drink the juice right after you make it. This way, you're going to have the most nutritious juice. Once again, you know, I'm concerned about using the right juicer to make the highest quality juice. I use the best produce to make the highest quality juice, and then once you make the juice and you break open the cell walls, oxidation starts to occur. If you cut open an apple, it starts to turn brown, you know, and that's what's happening to the juice on a very small, minute level. It doesn't change color like an apple that fast unless you juice apple juice, but the nutrients can degrade based on the data I've seen. So how can you prevent this? Well, number one, if you just drink it right after you make it, you know, there's going to be minimal oxidation so that more nutrients are going to be in there for you. Now, if you need to store that, you know, an old school tip is take a jar, fill it up to the brim, don't leave any airspace and cap it tightly. And, you know, maybe in the 70s this was really good, and some people even shared to store juice like that today. You know, I would not agree with that personally because now there is newer technology such as vacuum technology. We'd stick a vacuum on the juice to pull out the extra oxygen because it is the oxygen stuck in the jar. Even if you fill it to the brim, there's still some oxygen in there, and more importantly, it's the dissolved oxygen in the juice that nobody tells you about except for me. You know, that will degrade your juice faster. You know, I easily juice, you know, in bulk and store juices for up to a week in my fridge, and sometimes they'll spontaneously ferment, which is kind of fun because now I have some probiotic rich beverage in addition to my juice, but I rarely have juices go bad on me. You know, and by removing the oxygen, you're going to prevent some of the oxidative damage that's going to cause the juice to spoil and cause it to lose nutrition. And actually, instead of spoiling, it'll ferment, and then there may be even additional nutrients and even more probiotics created that can be good for you. Now, another tip besides just vacuuming your juice and suck in and vacuum on it, once again, links down below to videos I made on how to vacuum save your juice. So the cheapest and easiest way to do this is just if you just Google, you know, vacuum fermentation lids. You know, you can just screw those on the mason jar, and they have a really inexpensive vacuum pump that you could do this. You know, some of those kits for 4 lids with the pump are as low as, like, I don't know, $12 to $20. So it's really simple. I mean, more advanced ways, if you have the Dynapro vacuum blender, you could seal your mason jars inside the vacuum chamber that I have videos on. You could also, you know, get the food saver, you know, jar adapter, you know, to suck a vacuum on your jars. I generally like to store my juices in mason jars, a wide mouth. That makes it really simple. Now, the final tip also along storing the juices is if you know you're going to store juice, add some lemon. Juice an extra lemon in the whole recipe. It'll make it, you know, taste kind of good because of lemon, but also it'll add some citric acid in there. If you cut open an apple and cut a lemon in half and squeeze some lemon juice on half the apple, it's not going to turn brown as fast as the apple that you didn't squirt it on. So the citric acid can help to preserve more nutrients. That being said, you know, in my opinion, it works on a different level than pulling a vacuum on you know, the juice. So I would actually do both is the best practice and not just do one or the other and not think, oh, I put lemon in my juice, that's good enough, I don't need to pull the vacuum on it. I would encourage you guys, once again, I'm about optimization and trying to do the best I can, so that's why, you know, if it's something I'm going to save and I want to save for sure, I'm going to do both. Juice the lemon in there, and I juice it with the rind and the peel. Actually, there's more of the nutrients in the rind and the peel than the the juice itself that most people just squeeze out the lemon water. So I think that's pretty much it for this episode. That's my 5 uncommon tips. What did you think? Did you like this episode? Do you have any uncommon tips for me that I could learn? Because I learned so much from you guys, my viewers out there, that I'll share tips that I'll learn that I didn't know. Like, I've learned all these different, cleaning techniques and things I never thought of, and I'm like, wow, now I could use that in my video. So I want to thank you guys that have given me tips and tricks that you've taught me something all along the way. So make sure you post your comments down below so I could check them out and read them, and we could share our juicing knowledge. So also be sure to put your comments down below what you thought about this video, and maybe even if you have some tips that you'd like to share with others so that we can have a greater juicing community and be more efficient and effective juicers to get the most nutrition, because once again, that's why I am juicing, to get the nutrients that I believe to have major health benefits in our life and to maximize those nutrients. And that's what you've learned in this episode today. So if you guys like this episode, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, please be sure to share this video with somebody else that you could think of. You have, if you're on a juicing Facebook group or juicing forum online, share this video. These are uncommon tips that most people are just not even going to be aware of. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes. I've come out every 5 to 7 days. You don't matter where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as many videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 600 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel dedicated to teach you guys all about the appliances that allow you to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, including hundreds of juice off comparisons. Finally, I'd like to say that I appreciate all you guys that support me and make your purchase at discountjuicers.com. This allows me to continue to pay my light bill, continue to make the videos, continue to make the juice off comparisons, and I appreciate you guys so much because I just want the truth out there, and I share what happens when I juice in the same 2 juicers. And if you guys want to get any of these 2 juicers, links down below. So I want to thank you guys who have supported me in the past. I want to thank you guys who will support me in the future so I can continue my work on educating the world about the power of fresh fruits and vegetables. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.